Hello and welcome to the Homeless Consultants channel. My name is Paul B. I am the Homeless Consultant. And this is just a quickie. Just an example for you of what I have been talking about. Let's begin by looking at the time on my phone here, if you can see. I don't know, does it focus on that at all? 4:44 a.m. And before my battery runs out, let me show you one other thing here. If you can see this, and you may not be able to. There we go. Can you see that now? Where it says 3.2 miles. Okay. What does that have to do with anything, Paul? Well, let me tell you. It's 4:44 right now. When I got to the place I'm at right now, it was 4:30, maybe. Okay? I sat here trying to figure out what to do for 15 minutes. Prior to that, I was in the garage at work. I dozed off after work. Well, several hours after work anyway, but I dozed off there. I woke up at about 4 in the morning. And I had to go to the bathroom. Just had to urinate, but very, very badly. You know, I've been drinking coffee all day at work, at my job, which is what pays for me to live in this car, and nothing better than that. So 4 a.m., I have to go to the bathroom. So I leave and I drive about a half a mile away to where I know there's an outhouse. Now this is a little park. I don't know what it is exactly. It's very small. It might be one of those memorial parks or something. But the parking lot only accommodates maybe 6 or 8 cars. And if there's more people than that there, they actually have to park in the road. And in fact, it's pretty dangerous for them to do that. But beside the point is, it's such a small park, the only bathroom they have is an outhouse. And here's another point. They need to have an outhouse there because this place is so isolated that there isn't a bathroom anywhere around. You have to drive miles to get to a bathroom. Okay? So I drive the half mile or so to get to that place to use the bathroom, to use the outhouse. And again, it was what? This time it was about 4:15. About 4:15 a.m. on a Sunday morning. For what it's worth, there's nothing out here. I mean, you can see, it's just dead. It's just dead. That's the main road, by the way. You see the lights there? That's the main road. Do you see any cars? I don't see any cars. Because there are no cars. There's nobody out here. Nothing. There is nothing. Precisely, absolutely nothing out here. But as I pull up to the outhouse, I pull up to this little park where the outhouse is. I slow down to turn in there. But before I turn in, I look, and there's a car in the parking lot, not next to the outhouse, but all the way back, with its headlights on, pointed out. And I look closely to see, is that a police officer? You know, because often they'll sit there and stalk their prey, looking for somebody speeding or whatever, although I've never once seen anybody actually get pulled over for breaking the law in that area, and I almost never see it anywhere else, but it wasn't a police officer. This was just your ordinary little, like, light colored clown car. Those little SUV things that you see on television. Folks, this was 4:15 in the morning, and this car's just sitting there, not even, from what I could tell, using the outhouse because they're parked way back, but they've got their headlights on, facing out at me. I was literally about to turn the wheel before I even saw that they were there. They were as far back in that little thing as they could get to kind of hide, and yet they're sitting there with their headlights on, giving it away. If they didn't have their headlights in, I would have turned into that place. Now, here's the thing. The last several times I've gone to that outhouse, weird things have happened. Again, at 3, 4 in the morning. There's no cars anywhere. The whole time I drove to the outhouse, I saw 0 cars. From the time I drove from the outhouse to here, which was more than the 3.2 miles or whatever you saw there, because I didn't I didn't reset the counter until I had already driven probably about 2 miles. So it was about 5 miles from the outhouse to where I am right now. I saw 0 cars on the road. The only car on the road in the whole place was sitting at that outhouse, backed way in the back, with its headlights on. And the last several times I've gone to that outhouse, I've had very strange things. Like at 3 or 4 in the morning, when I pull into the outhouse, somebody pulls into that park right next to me, when there's nobody on the road for miles in either direction. How does this happen? How can that happen? Where does that car come from? As I pull into the outhouse, there's no headlights in the distance behind me. So where does it come from that it gets behind me within, what, less than 60 seconds? And what was that guy doing sitting back there in the park? Are they just doing drugs? And they're too stupid to turn off their headlights so they're not seen, or what? It was not a police officer. So I couldn't use the outhouse. So the reason I showed you the odometer here, again, I didn't even set that. I didn't think about setting it until I'd gotten about 2 miles away from that outhouse. So it was about 5 miles I drove to get out here to a place where I could actually use the bathroom. Now when I drive back, it's going to be what? Another 5 miles or so. That's 10 miles that I have to drive to go to the bathroom, just to urinate. Unless I want to break the law and just go out and stand on the street and just take a pee right on the road, which I'll tell you folks is something I see house people doing all the time. But I try to obey the law. 10 miles just to use the bathroom. Now, where you're at right now, are you at home? How far do you have to go to urinate? Maybe 12 feet? You see why there's so much wear and tear on this car? Do you see why there's so much wear and tear on my soul? I can't even go use an outhouse on a Sunday morning. There's still no cars out here. Do you see anything? There's nothing out here. There's no vehicles. There's nothing. That is a main road there, folks. That is the main road through this town. That thing in the daytime is wall-to-wall cars without any gaps in it, period. This is how dead it is out here. And yet the one and only car I see in this 5 miles to here was sitting next to the outhouse at 4 in the morning. I mean, I hope you now understand, this is the kind of, when I say I get chased places, that so much of my time is spent being chased, where I lose productive time and the wear and tear on this car is tremendous. That is a perfect example of it. That's what keeps happening. I'm not getting out of my car in some dark, isolated spot miles away from civilization when there's some creep sitting in there with his headlights on. I mean, it's not like somebody was pulled in next to the outhouse because they had to use the outhouse. This is some weirdo parked back maybe, 50 feet away from the outhouse, as far back as they could get. And where they're at is, you just have to know the layout of the place. It's like the dumbest place to park in the whole parking lot, the little tiny parking lot there. It doesn't make any sense. And it wasn't a police officer. And if it was a police officer, they wouldn't park there anyway because they don't have visibility of what's coming. That defeats their purpose. Anyway, just a brief message to show you, just to demonstrate for you what I have to deal with. I got up at 4 in the morning. I had to go to the bathroom badly. It is now almost 5 o'clock. Before this, I finally got to urinate, so I feel better. But that's an hour out of my life spent just going to the bathroom. Whereas you, as you watch this, just walk 12 feet to your bathroom and you're done, and it's over. No wear and tear on your car, no money spent on gasoline, no risk of personal injury in an accident or a carjacking or just getting shot by one of these gangbangers, who are the only people who are out at this time of night, by the way, if you haven't figured out what I've been trying to say about the car at the outhouse. The only people who are out in Minneapolis area, South Minneapolis, at night between the hours of about 11 or midnight until about 4, 5, 6 in the morning. The only people who are out are a couple people who are working and they have to go to gas stations and things or drive to work, and gangsters, thugs, creepy, uneducated, low-class. Hard to even see these people as human. You know, the boom, 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 boom. These people who have just zero going on, basically living off of welfare, which is to say off of my work, my taxes, or selling drugs or doing crimes to make money. That's what was sitting at that outhouse. I can't prove it, but I have 6 years of experience now with what goes on out here. I would lay some money on it that was a bunch of gangbangers or something of that nature. It was not a good, well-educated, well-bred, classy person who had a purpose for being there that is a good purpose. I'm pretty sure that wasn't it. So I wasn't going to pull in there to urinate if I wanted to live. I'm getting a bit angry. That's 1 hour of my life stolen just so I can urinate. And I wanted to make it clear, and I wanted to document it here the best I could. This is what I deal with all the time, folks. Multiply this by everything you have to do. Getting food. Urinating again in a couple hours. When you string all these together, you start to understand why the life I live is a life of absolute misery and suffering. And it is not productive. Where I'm at right now, where I had to come to, if I pull out this computer and fire it up to actually try to get any work done, because it is peaceful and quiet right now, if I do that, I'm going to be it's like putting a well-lit bullseye on this car. That thing will shine through here. I'll have police officers coming over. I'll have all kinds of gangsters and thugs pulling up next to this car. All kinds of creepy people all around me if I turn on that computer with that bright light in here. So I can't get anything done. All I can do is just sit here until dusk. When the traffic starts moving around and you start getting people around you, then it doesn't draw attention if I fire up the computer. But then what do you get an hour or two later? Sunrise. Once the sun rises, I can't even see the computer anymore, so my work's done. So that's what it's like, folks. That's what it's like being out here at night. This area is actually crazy. I mean, back in near that Cub Foods, for example, where they have people coming in all night long. Look at this, look at this. The one vehicle out there, the one freaking vehicle out there is the Star Tribune. Like an intellectual drug dealer out there spreading all these lies that this... Look at that. Can you believe that? The only thing on the road. Can you see that? The only vehicle on the road out here is the Star Tribune spreading its lies. Misinformation, propaganda, withholding the truth from the people. That's what's out here. Otherwise, what? You've got nothing. See? Absolutely nothing. Oh, there's one in the distance. Holy cow. We got one. One. Folks, I mean, this is my life. I mean, I don't even know how to end this video. I mean, I just wanted to make a quick video, and I don't know. I don't know how to communicate this kind of suffering to you. That's why I make these videos, and that's why I get so riled up when I'm talking about it, because that's what I feel inside the whole time I'm sitting in this car. I'm sitting in this car, sleeping in this car, and the only vehicle I see out there is the Star Tribune. The people who refused to tell my story and to get me any justice, who didn't want anything to do with it because it exposes this government as incompetent and negligent and corrupt, and they protect this corrupt government. And I see somebody who probably has a home driving a Star Tribune truck is the only vehicle out there, so they can go out and spread more of their lies to people like you who actually read that garbage. or Care 11, or Fox, or any of these media outlets here in Minnesota, which just lie constantly. That's all they do. And withhold the truth. Here's the truth. We're going to take it out of the way so that nobody knows that truth. That's a form of lying as well. Anyway, don't want to drag this thing on forever and ever and ever, but I'm just not happy, folks. I'm not happy. I worked hard for 8.5 hours. I get out of work, I eat, I watch a video or so, I start to doze off, I'm having trouble, I can't really do anything, I just doze off, and I dozed off again with the door open. Didn't mean to. That puts me at serious risk. So for a couple hours while I was asleep there, this door was propped open to get some kind of cool air in here. It was actually hot, of all things. And then I wake up and I have to spend an hour just urinating. And then when I do it, I end up in a parking lot where I'm a bullseye target for the police or all kinds of cranks. And then I have to see that and be reminded of how the Star Tribune did nothing to tell the truth about my story and help me. They didn't care. They didn't care if I live or die. Every time I look at their rag, the headlines on there are just misleading, manipulative lies. And that truck's out there just spreading them all around this town. Free as a bird. The police will never stop him, even though what he's doing is damnable. But the police will never stop that truck. But they'll come over to me and say, "What are you doing?" I'll get this all the time. And then as I go through all that and I'm riled up like this and I'm just sitting in a car hoping nobody will come over and molest me at all, an official government agent, for example, or a gangster or a thug or just some creep who just got finished hiding the body off in the woods somewhere. Maybe that's what they were doing at the outhouse, hiding the body. I don't know, because that's the kind of creepy weirdos who are out there in the middle of the night. Normally, I would be in my home at this time. I wouldn't be out here, you see. And for all that, a couple hours from now, I have to go back to work. So I can do my job again to afford this wonderful lifestyle I have in the great state of Minnesota. I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you for watching. No, we're not quite done yet, folks, of course. I decided to take a chance, and I copied that file onto my computer, and I turned on the computer in the dark here to try to get this video online before I go to work in a couple of hours. And what did I get? I barely got started on it, and a car pulled in there. Now look at this parking lot. It is completely empty. Disregard those two cars. We'll talk about them in a moment. This parking lot is empty. There's nothing here except me and a light pole 2 parking spaces away. This car pulls in to the entrance there, and instead of obeying the law and following along straight parallel to the lines, making a right turn and then making a left turn to park right there, instead of doing that, that car pulled in straight at my car with its bright headlights on at high speed, probably 35 miles an hour, 40, in a parking lot, straight at my car. And as it gets right about there where the parking space is, it veers that way a little bit and drives inches from my car on this side, between me and the light pole. Look at how close I am to this, folks. This creep could have just obeyed the law and driven along the actual, that's the actual road. That's where you're supposed to drive if you're obeying the law. And then you turn in and you turn into the parking space. But instead, out of this entire place, what do? They pull in and make a beeline straight for me, and then they drive between my car and this pole. Where was that person going that was so urgent? To the fitness center. You see, Minnesotans are really fit and healthy people, aren't they? If only they exercised their brain as much as they exercise their brawn, maybe they wouldn't be morons like that. That idiot put my car and my life at risk by driving straight at me at high speed. I'm minding my own business. If they had lost control of the wheel, or if they were texting while they did that, they could have plowed right into me and ended my life. And yet, if the police came in here right now, you know which car they would come up to? They would come up to this car. They would come up to this car. This one right here. And that's why they will come up to this car. They will not go to that car and knock on their window. They're not going to go up there and go like this and say, "What are you doing?" That creep just put my life at risk, and they get away with it, and they claim to be healthy. Now we're done with this video. Nope, we're not even done yet, folks. While I was editing this video, which doesn't take long because there's really nothing to that video except to render it for you, a car pulls in here very slowly, like riding your brakes while you're idling slow, turns around the island and pulls in next to the island, basically next to me, as you can see. Sits there for about 5 minutes with its headlights on. Doesn't go anywhere, doesn't do anything, no purpose, nothing. I take the computer and I lift it up to put it over here because I gots to go. I can't sit here in this big empty parking lot with some weirdo that close to me. It's not. They could be over here with a gun within seconds, especially if I'm focusing on a computer. I have no choice but to leave. That's what I call being chased. So I lift up the computer, I move my seat forward, I start the car, and that car immediately drives and turns around very slowly, drives down to the end of the parking lot, which is, you saw how far it was, all the way to the end of the parking lot, way beyond those two cars I pointed out before, pulls around, and now it's sitting behind me back there with its headlights on, pointed at me from behind. So I got to get out of here. For safety's sake, I have to get out of here. It is now finally just barely cracking dawn here in this big empty parking lot, and this is what I've had to deal with the whole time I've been here. This is what I have to deal with in every parking lot. And folks, there was one thing that happened in between. I even got a little bit of video of that. You remember the white car that came right at me and it went and parked next to the other white car? Well, both of those white cars left at the same time. They drove really, really slowly next to me. Not right next to me, but where they should have on the road. The first one drove really, really slow, went up to the intersection there and just sat there. And then the other car came up behind them. Again, empty parking lot, no traffic, and the car in the front just sits there. You can see it for yourself right here. They just sit there for the longest time. And then they slowly drive off over toward the gas station. What was that all about? That's kind of weird. You would think that somebody with a purpose would drive a normal speed, they would go there, stop at the stop sign, as the law indicates, and then they would go wherever they're going. Or you would think if they're waiting for a friend to catch up behind them, then when the friend catches up behind them, then they would go to where it is that they have a purpose to go to. But they didn't do that, did they? You saw it yourself. They just sat there after they drove by me really, really slowly. So in the last couple hours, I have left the parking garage, gone to an outhouse that had some weird person sitting in there with their headlights on, pointed out at the street. I drive all the way out here and see nothing. Almost as soon as I get here, I film this thing, and then I get that car headed straight at me, putting me at risk and my car at risk, parking back there. While I'm editing this thing, I get, the Star Tribune spreading its lies. These are the only vehicles I'm seeing the whole time. Then I get those two cars leaving in that creepy, stalking, slow manner, intimidating manner, passive-aggressive. That's Minnesota nice, passive-aggressive. And then before I can even do anything with that video, I get this weirdo pulling in next to me out of this entire huge empty parking lot, pulls in over there next to me, checking me out, and gee, what a coincidence. What a coincidence. As soon as I lift the computer up, start the car, move my seat forward, all of a sudden they need to leave. But they don't leave. They drive away, and as I sit here instead of leaving, they pull up behind me so that I've got their headlights behind me. I'd show you, but the window's all fogged up, and I'm waiting for the window to defog before I can leave. This is what I've had to deal with. This is my morning while you were asleep, dreaming sweet dreams, or maybe getting up to go to the bathroom, walking 12 feet. This is what I've had to deal with. And now, about an hour and a half from now, I have to go back to work. Now, we're done with this video. Nope, folks, we're not done again. Even as I was trying to wrap it up this time, this white car, which might be the same white car, once again pulls in there, makes a beeline straight for me, and pulls right next to me. And I didn't have the camera ready, so you could only see it when it got right next to me. This is what Minnesota calls a normal person. This. And you saw the tail end of it. For heaven's sakes. Am I finally done with this video?